Hi everyone, welcome back to Gooner and Scouse. I'm Dash.
And I'm Chet.
We're a couple who love exploring stories at intersection of travel, ambition and purpose. After the incredibly inspiring conversation we shared recently with Cecil, we wanted to continue that theme, spotlighting people who are building meaningful impact through bold ideas.
And today we're joined by Ankit and Sahil.
Two entrepreneurs whose journey spans continents, cultures and categories. You may already know them as the co-founders of Dineout, one of India's most iconic food tech success stories, later acquired by Swiggy.
But what we really wanted to explore today is what came after the exit. The mindset shift, that decision to return to India from the UK and the US, and the next bold chapter.
They're now building TMTC, the medical travel company, reimagining cross-border healthcare and positioning India as a global destination for world-class medical care.
If you're an aspiring founder, a global Indian, or someone searching for purpose beyond profit, then this conversation is for you. Let's get into it.
Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us. And I guess it'd be good to know where your journey began before you became such brilliant entrepreneurs.
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having us over. I'm Ankit Mehrotra, the co-founder at the medical travel company. But before that, going all the way back, so I used to live in London for a long time. I was an investment banker in London with BNP Paribas. And in 2011, I moved back to India, end of 2011, to start a company called Dineout, which we ran for nearly 13 years before we got acquired by Swiggy in July 2022. And then in January 2024 is when we started working on the concept of the medical travel company. And me and Sahil, we've been friends since we were 5 years old. So we go back a long, long way. And it's just great to now be, so he was my co-founder at Dineout, and now he's my co-founder at the medical travel company. So it just feels amazing to be doing this again with him.
Yeah, I think similar story. I mean, obviously we both graduated together from school. He was in the UK and I was in India. I did my MBA from IIM Kozhikode. After that, I was in the US for a couple of years in Seattle. And I think 2010 is when he called me once talking about this idea because he was working on that deal. And within a month, I made my decision to come back to start this. And 2011 is when we both came back to India and we launched Dineout in 2012. And this was an era when there were no startups in India. It was like very early days. The dot-com, it wasn't really a big thing. It wasn't the buzzword like the way it is today. So when we came back, actually, our parents are like, why are you leaving your pushy jobs and starting up? Like, what's the point? But I think, yeah, in the end, once we actually sold it to Swiggy, that was a big deal. And everyone realized that, it was the right, it was meant to be. Sorry.
Yeah, so just to add a very funny anecdote. So when we were starting up, this was 2011, right? And we were 26 and we had two other co-founders, Vivek and Nikhil, who were Dineout co-founders, who all of us have been known each other since we were friends, nursery, right? So all our parents knew each other. So literally we had like 4 sets of parents sitting against us saying, what have you guys been smoking? Have you guys lost it? Because Vivek was coming from the merchant navy after having traveled for 10 years. I was coming from the UK. Sahil was coming from the US. And our parents' biggest concern was, all of this is fine, but who's going to marry? Because all in all quit your jobs at 26. And this was again, as Sahil said, right? Nothing, there was no startup, nothing like that. So literally within 1 year of starting Dineout, out of the 4 of us, 3 of us were married. And the 4th would have been married as well, like his engagement got called off. But that was our deal with the parents. Get, fight, marry, get it off your, get this off our lives. And then you do guys, your wives is problem too. So it's like that, yeah.
Well, I just want to pick up on that point about coming back to India, because a lot of people abroad want to go to the US, want to go to the UK because they believe in better opportunities, whatever it may be. You guys were there already, like you said, in good jobs, and then thought, right, no, I'm gonna come back. That's risky, obviously scary, and then the pressure of family as well, because there's that fear of failure. But
absolutely,
I mean, what gave you the strength to do that?
So in my case, I had been out of India for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I had a PR to the UK. I was actually, I was 6 months, actually I was 4 months away from my UK passport, so of becoming a citizen. And I had just, so I was an investment banker, but I had just passed my CFA level 3 exam, just got the result that I passed after 5 years of studying. So I literally had everything going for me. And if I would have stayed for four more months, I would have got my passport. And actually, that is when I thought that if I actually get this, it will probably, I'll never be in a position to take a risk again because I'm going to be really laid back.
Yeah.
And, it'll always have that thing to fall back on, that if something doesn't work out, I can always come back. So for me, I think, and I had survived personally, I had survived the 2008, 2009 financial crisis, where I was working 14 to 16 hour days for someone else. And I realized that, if I'm doing so much hard work, I might as well do it for myself. And the way the environment was at that point in time, I thought India was the place to be for the future because we were just opening up, economically we were opening up, things were looking up. I would say the younger, the Gen Z, the young population was just coming up. They were I think a lot of, my bet was that the next 10, 20 years in India is going to be incredible. And the transformation and the things that at least I have seen in the Western world is going to come to India. So it's going to be land of opportunities. People will have a lot of disposable money. Me and Sahil always wanted to build something, and we felt that no better place than India to build something.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective also similarly, I think what you said about risk, right? I think sometimes we overplay the risk factor in our minds, because honestly, the way I think about it, and this is not just for me, it's even for the young people out there.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that today, if you take the plunge to start something of your own, what is the risk, right? 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, the worst case is it's not going to work out, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, you can go back to your jobs, right? Today, if let's say you're doing a 100,000, 200,000 pound job, for example, there is demand for good quality people always in the market, right? You want to try something, you do that, you fail at it maybe 2 years down, then you can either start up again if you have that sort of courage. But if not, the fallback of getting an employment or a job is always there, right? So I think when we take that plunge, we didn't think about risk that much. I think what we were thinking was that this is something we really want to do. Yeah. Even as kids, right? When we just passed out of school, we had a business idea and we wanted to do that, something around education even before going to college. And our parents were like, first complete the education, right? So there was always this thing inside of us that we want to build something. And I think India was the best place to do that. We could never imagine building something in the US or the UK at that point in time, right? I think the environments were not maybe conducive at that point in time, and India was more conducive to at least our thought process. And we felt that next, as Ankit said, next 10 years are going to be India's. And I think that, and sitting today, I can guarantee say that the next 20 years are all about India.
Yeah.
There is so much opportunity that is available in India that you can really build out of India in a big way.
But now I think that the way things have, at least from our experience of the last 14 years of being entrepreneurs, and the way we've seen the ecosystem evolve, I think we are much more confident, obviously, as entrepreneurs, having had a successful business before.
Of course.
But also the fact that we now know that we can build for the world sitting in India. That's what we're now trying to do for the medical travel company, right? We're trying to get the best of Indian healthcare out there. You guys obviously have now witnessed what we are trying to build firsthand, right?
Yeah.
And we believe that the opportunity and the scope is massive. But that's the confidence now that we've got. And I think that would have been, that's I think personally for me, the last 15 years has all led up to this point where I'm confident that now sitting in India, we can build for the world.
Do you think, was it always going to be India where you were going to take this opportunity? I know you said that, you felt it was, why India? Why not the UK? Why not US? Do you feel, because you said it was very early doors here, so I know you said about you weren't worrying about the risk, but for it to become so successful, you must have really believed in it and believed in India.
Yeah, so at least what I believed in, and what in fact, not just me and Sahil, what we together believed in was the future, the potential, because we were 2011-12 was a time where, as I said, the economy was just opening up. A lot of people were getting their first jobs. There's a lot of disposable income rising. And we felt that the way people have been spending money, the consumption trends of the West are going to happen in India.
Yeah.
And a lot of those trends are going to actually accelerate and grow. And people in India were starved for these things. So that's why and again, we chose dining out as an industry at that point in time, because we knew, being in London, I was dining out 4 to 5 times a week. And every time I used to come back to India, it was always those same restaurants or good. I could sense that there's going to be a huge change coming. And essentially that's what we've seen. So I think it was about being at the right place at the right time. And we just felt India at that moment was the right place and the right time.
Yeah, I think even from an overall perspective, the whole aspirational nature of the population, right? I mean, when you look at India, like that entire middle class is very aspirational and people want to be there, get there somewhere, right? So all of that adds to the whole consumption story, the work culture, everything, right? Whereas when you look at the Western world, which is UK, US, even like today, it obviously looks saturated, but even 10, 15 years back, it was saturated. Like people are sort of happy enough with their lives that they're not going that extra mile, right? Doing that extra bit which is required in a startup, right?
Yeah.
So I think in India, that culture that you go that, extra bit above and beyond, which is your call of a normal employment or duty or
Yeah.
8 hours of work, we saw happening or changing in India. And that's what, made us feel that this is the next growth story that we need to be a part of.
So how did you've come from like very different backgrounds. You started off in finance, you've then gone into restaurants and the food industry, and now you're in healthcare. What made you go into those industries? And I know that they're like quite they're ever growing industries. What was it about those that attracted you?
I think so. Personally, for me, actually, so I actually did my engineering degree. So, and then the day I became an engineer, I decided I don't want to do anything with engineering. And I think the finance was because I love numbers. So that's why I decided to go into finance. I think going into finance just opened my mind to the possibilities out there, because as an investment banker, I looked at multiple spaces and multiple sectors, and I realized that massive potential exists to do things differently in different space sectors. And we chose restaurant industry at that time because we thought that obviously from an India perspective, it's just opening up. And the way the trend, again, the trends that we're seeing in the Western world, we inherently knew that those are going to be repeated sooner rather than later in India.
Yeah.
And we were lucky enough to be there at the right place, right time. And we saw those trends repeat over the next, over the last 13, 14 years. I think for us now, after Dineout and after the restaurant industry, I think healthcare is something that we were both very passionate about, and we always wanted to do something in healthcare. But probably now, from our perspective, having built a successful business, we thought now is the time where people without any healthcare background, we would probably be taken seriously. But also, I think having lived in UK, lived in the US, and having friends there who are still there and interacting with them, we realized that actually the healthcare industry has gone through a massive challenge over the last few years in the Western world. COVID was a big sort of, I would say, game changer, where the actual challenges came out because with the aging population, rising cost of healthcare, etc., we could see the strains happening on the healthcare infrastructure across the globe. And then on the flip side, we were sitting in India where all of a sudden we're seeing these massive amounts of investment coming into India from PE, seeing a massive amount of reverse brain drain, where great doctors from the US and UK who would be in there for the last 15, 20, 30 years were coming back. So overall, the elevation of Indian healthcare was happening. And the way the economy, the way healthcare was evolving, we knew that there will come a time soon where people will travel, where essentially geographies and boundaries are going to be transcended. Yeah. People are going to start traveling for better healthcare, where it's available faster, at the same or better quality, at a much lower cost. Yeah. And we believe India has that potential to offer to the world, with 30% of doctors globally being Indian origin. The healthcare in India is in English language. So India potential has a lot of potential, and we just feel that, we, if built right, this can be a massive opportunity.
Yeah, no, I think Ankit covered most of the things, but I think for healthcare, I think what we believe is after having done Dineout, that the next phase of healthcare will be around hospitality, right? So while clinical outcomes, as Ankit said, is the most important, and we've got the best doctors in India coming back from US, UK, etc. A lot of private equity coming in. So clinical outcomes are taken care of. I think what's the missing piece is the hospitality piece around it, right? Because you spend 20% of your time in the hospital, 80% is outside, right? What happens there? I think no one's sort of covering that space, and I think that's where the real opportunity is, and that's where the medical travel company is trying to make sure that we can give that holistic experience to patients, which enables the right sort of recovery over a longer period of time, right? You could go back and after a surgery, if you go back and get back to work on the second day, 6 months down the line, you might have issues, right? But if you have a proper recovery, it's a long-term recovery which is more sustainable, right? And that's what we need to evolve towards. I think that's why we felt that this is something we really need to do.
And I honestly now, I think both of you are perfect examples of having sort of seen it upfront and having lived through it, right? Having gone to different parts of the world, seeing what happens and seeing the importance of aftercare and how important it is to feel at ease and at peace while you're undergoing any sort of treatment and how you recover after that. So I think that this is something that we realized is missing, not just globally, even in the UK, right? Like you go in to have a surgery and 2 days later you're out and then you're left to fend for yourself. And that actually hampers clinical outcomes. So we feel that this is the future of healthcare, where you mix hospitality with healthcare to ensure better outcomes, to ensure faster recovery, and to ensure long-term success of the procedures and surgeries.
Even in private healthcare, I've had a couple of operations privately, and you never get this level of detail in terms of your aftercare, your care prior to the operation. So I think this TMTC and this hospitality side of things for medical, I think you've got to experience it just to understand that, wow, it's missing, and people can really take advantage of it if they're able to do so at a lower cost as well. So I think this will only get bigger and bigger, no doubt.
And honestly, you know, the way we feel about it is that coming with zero healthcare background actually enabled us to sort of think about it from an outside perspective and see the entire picture and realize that this is what is missing. And we were lucky enough to have some great doctors in the UK, in India, as our advisory board, who helped us build this out the right way, right? I think that's the most important bit, to ensure that we're building it out the right way and having the best clinical support in the UK and in India. So it's not that as if we're working in isolation, just in India. And that's I think that's been the #1 challenge of medical tourism overall for the last 15, 20 years, because medical tourism, you think about, is nothing new, right? People have been traveling out of their home countries for treatments for the last 15, 20 years. The problem is that it's always been the onus of the patient to go find the best doctor, find the best hospital and fend for themselves. And now what we are trying to do is actually flip that model, saying that we're going to give you coordinated care in your home country, and then we're going to give you coordinated care in your destination country, and make sure that both of them are, you as a patient, you're handheld, and that care is married together to ensure that it's, you get things done the right way. So I think that's been the most important discovery that we've had, during our journey. And that's what we're looking to build.
Yeah. So I guess it'd be good to understand, the hardships you've had with building all these businesses. I know you said that your families weren't very supportive in the beginning. How did you influence them, and how did you get over any challenges that you had?
Well, I think they were just surprised by it. Yeah, I think in terms of support, I think we got enough support from our family to make sure that we're successful for others, whether it was our wives or parents. I think we got a lot of support, because initially when you're building and you're 26, you really don't know how to build a business, right? You're just learning every day. And we both had been sort of working in US, UK, very different cultures, right? To the work culture in India is very different, right? So in India, while you have a lot of people and they can work for 12 hours, but then ensuring that you get the productivity, the output, the nature of the work, right? Monitoring that is a very whole different ball game, right? Hiring the right talent is extremely difficult, right? You've got to figure out who's the right talent, who understands your ethos, your company values, etc. How do you build that sort of work culture in your company? We didn't know how to build a work culture, right? It was the first time you're starting a company. I think just establishing that over the next first 4-5 years was the hardest part, I think, in terms of hiring the right talent, building the right culture so that people understand why we're doing what we're doing, having that whole environment of innovation where people can think different. The fact that, you're allowed to have failures. In India, the concept was that you typically, right, because startup was a new thing, right? People don't want to fail, right? So they would not suggest you stop. They'll just keep doing what they want to do. We had to create a culture that it's okay to fail. So break fast, move fast, and, go on and do something else, right? So we had to do a lot of experimentation. Even at Dineout, we started with reservations, but we eventually moved to payments. It was a big pivot that we had to make, right? Now that is something that usually people take long to figure out, or they're not fast enough to make that pivot, right? For us, I think as founders, was extremely important that if we see that something's not working, then can we pivot to something else and make sure that we solve for that problem and make that scale, right? So I think just understanding that over the first 4-5 years was extremely critical. And that's what led to our growth post 2017, right? Because we were able to understand the market between 2012 and 17, what's working, what's not working, what's the right thing to scale. And post 2017, we scaled the whole payments business massively. And we were the first player to launch payments inside restaurant, actually, right? So we were able to, capitalize on the whole, I don't know if you remember, in 2017, the whole demonetization thing which happened, which led to digital payments, UPI, Paytm, etc. I mean, India, 90% of transactions now are all digital, right? So we were able to capitalize on that way because we were ready that this is what we need to do and scale it up, right? So I think those were some of the hardest sort of parts that we faced in the initial part of the journey. And obviously the second part was, I think, around COVID, right? I think COVID was a big thing because businesses just shut down completely, especially our business. Delivery was still on, but dining out businesses shut down. So we didn't know, will this business survive? 6 months down the line, will we be in business? What do we do with, we had 800 people team. What do we do with them? Right? Their livelihood depends on us. So those were difficult times that we had to navigate through, pivot, do digital stuff, then again go back to offline. So it was a back and forth that we had to do for almost 1 year in that whole COVID journey. But then we came out stronger out of that, right? We were actually post-COVID, we saw that whole revenge consumption thing happening where people just went out in huge loads out of the restaurants, and we were 6x of our pre-COVID numbers because we managed to survive that period, right? The learnings we had in the first 10 years, we were able to use in that 1 year to make sure that we just survived that 1 year period. And after that, we just scaled massive.
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things in this is pivoting fast. So obviously during a 10-12 year journey as a business, you have to do multiple things, right? So we were first to market with a few features. We also acquired a lot of companies in between. We started off as a pure B2C platform, but then very early on we realized pure B2C in India has to be supported by tech. So we acquired a couple of tech companies as well to build products for the restaurant industry. So by the end of it, we were one of the largest restaurant tech platforms in India, having B2C, B2B, subscription businesses, annual festivals, etc. So I think the nature of the business sort of grew massively as the business grew, and the only reason why I think we were able to do that is because of pivot, being able to make decisions quickly and adapt to the current situation, whether it was demonetization, whether it was COVID, coming out of COVID, etc. And now we're obviously seeing the same thing in the medical travel company, right? We wanted to start off with only a very particular sort of a treatment plan from the UK to India, but we realized that, orthopedics is what we want to start for, but we realized that actually there's a massive demand and a massive problem in other areas, whether it's fertility, whether it's IVF, whether it's ophthalmology, whether it's urology, right? So now we have all of that going. Dental is a major challenge. But then we realized that it's not just UK to India which is struggling. We are now live in certain African countries as well. We're looking in Middle East as well, because there's a massive challenge that exists today. And as entrepreneurs, I think one of the things about being a successful entrepreneur is you realize the opportunities fast enough and you are able to act on it and capitalize on it. So that's essentially what we're doing in our journey. And now, honestly, the first set of people who've been through the door are actually have loved the journey. Who's been priming as well, right? Great. We already now got some positive outcomes for people already happening. So I think for our journey, like obviously there's a lot that we've learned from our dine out days, but being in healthcare obviously is a very different ball game altogether, because it's a lot more serious, right? With dine out, a consumer went to a restaurant, and if they didn't have a great experience, it lasted 2 hours and then it's over. Here we're talking about people's health. It's healthcare, right? It has the opportunity to change lives. So we need to, as founders, we need to be obviously a lot more I would say centered, a lot more sort of taking this obviously a lot more seriously, but also ensuring that we build on trust. I think trust is the most important thing. So that's why, right, we want to be in a place where we probably promise less but deliver more. That's what we're seeing, at least happening, and that's what gives us a lot more confidence about what we're doing. But because every single person who's coming to us at our aftercare center, after having experienced this, saying that, wow, we can't, you're saying something where we couldn't believe that this would be there. When we experience it, it's a lot more than what we thought is available. And that's that's what we're trying to build over here.
No, I was just going to say, when he made that first phone call to you, because I was reading a bit about and the figures and dine out and stuff, and it was huge, astronomical figures. Did you, because when people have their ideas, they know that I'm fully behind my idea, I know it's going to be huge. Did you ever think it would be as big as it became, or was it like, let's see how it goes?
I'll tell you a very funny story about this, right? When I first called Sahil, I still remember the date. It was 10th November 2010. And the reason I remember it because a market, some event had happened, and I was on my Bloomberg screens. I was just tired, and we were actually working as part of the investment I was. We were working on a deal where Open Table is buying out Top Table.
Open Table, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And when I looked at those numbers, I realized, this is incredible what the businesses that are big bit. So I called Sahil on November 2010, 10th November 2010, and I told this to him, and he was like, "Yeah, sounds interesting. Let me do some research." And then exactly 1 month later, I think December 11th, he called me back and said, "Yeah, I think this is great. Let's do it. By the way, I've quit my job and I'm moving back to India in February, and I'm stunned."
So now the pressure's on you now.
Exactly.
So yeah,
So because the pressure was on him because like he said, he had a CFA exam. He was
Yeah.
like a few months away from the passport. Now he had to come back quicker. Cool. So he had to make that decision. Why? Because I just decided to move back and start working on it. I said, you also come back now soon. We need to start on this because I think taking that plunge is the most important thing, right? You can keep thinking over it for 6 months. If you don't take that plunge, you'll never get around to sort of, doing that. And I think when you said that when we built it, did we think it'll be as big? A funny story is that we were making these Excel sheets with projections and numbers that we'll be at 5 years down the line. For now, when you're as a founder putting those numbers, you're like, how is this going to happen? But that's what you need to show the investor, right? Because you're saying that today you're at 0 or at 10 and you will be at 1,000, 10,000, a month, let's say, 3 years down the line. And you're like, okay, let's go for it. Let's at least pitch and build some logic around it that this is something which is going to happen. And then I think one day in 2015, 16, I just opened the sheet randomly that what we had showed in 2011, 12. And honestly, we were actually very close to the number that we had actually predicted. We actually reached that number that we were thinking. So sometimes I think we just underestimate what's actually possible, right? If you do it right, like where you can actually be, you just underestimate that number massively, right?
and I think one more thing, right? What is that? Because you've not done this ever, right? You actually do not know. So when we were starting off Dineout, we actually had no idea about investment and funding. For us, it was just about building a sustainable business. We wanted to build a profitable business. We didn't know anything. So in fact, like the funny story is, till the time we raised our first round of angel check in Dineout. So what had happened was we started off in 29th February 2012. We just chose 29th February leap year. And I don't think so we ourselves, we were building out. But the first time we felt confident was because in August of 2012, like near 6 months after starting, we raised our first round of angel funding, which was done by a customer who had been using our service, loved what we had been doing, loved the ethos of what we are doing, reached out to us and said that, I really like what you guys are building and I want to invest. And I think that was the first time where actually we all, including our parents, were like, oh, okay, someone else is willing to put their money. Yeah. These boys must be doing something right. Let's get off their backs, right? That's when we also sort of believed, okay, I think this is something interesting, because before that, we did not plan to raise money. We had
no exit strategy.
No exit strategy. It was just about, we worked hard for the last 7-8 years. We've saved money. Let's put it all in and let's go all out, right? That's what we were doing. And then, so it was, as I said, now looking back into it, we realize, it was, honestly, I think it was very, if we would have done it then, I don't think so we would have been able to do it later on, because you had to be young and foolish. Yeah. We were actually able to do that.
If I think about it now, I feel that how naive we were to just jump into it and do it, right? If we had actually thought through it, we would have never done it.
I think though, like looking at it from the outside, I know you said it, it's not risky, but I feel it's so brave because you must have had faith. We've all had ideas. Me and her, we sit there, we've got ideas and really good. And then it doesn't go any further. 6 months down the line, somebody's done something very similar and you think, wow. So it's not just us that was thinking that, but you've got to have faith in your, belief in what you're doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I feel is that, ideas are something which are cheap, right?
Yeah.
Available all around. But as if you're thinking about something, you can believe that at the same point, lot more people in the world are thinking about the same idea. Yeah. It's about execution at the end of the day. You have to get into it and execute, and execution is hard. That's where I think large companies are built. Even in India, if you see all the companies that have gone IPO, they've just done like hard execution, right? From Zomato to Paytm, all these guys.
Yeah, I honestly, what you said, right? Like the one thing that I credit my time in the UK, whether it's at university or afterwards as an investment banker, is it got rid of the fear and failure for me.
Right.
You know, that's at least one thing I say, because it doesn't work, at least I know that I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
Because when I quit my job, there was no backup plan. As I said, right, I didn't even have, I didn't take my UK passport, citizenship. I've just completed my CFA charter, and I would have actually been I would have actually jumped really high on my next job after my charter, but I just gave it up, and I just took a risk without knowing what's going to happen. And I think in hindsight, obviously it all worked out, but if I think about it now and analyze some of those decisions, there was no rationale or logic for doing it. It was just, we were probably young and foolish.
But it's good decision though.
Yeah, wow. In hindsight, absolutely. For me, I think the one key deciding criteria was that I used to meet so many people in the UK who had been, bankers for 10, 15, 20 years. And they always said that, oh, I wish we would have done this, or we should have done that. But something or the other, it was either family or stopping them back, or the comfort of a great job, or something or the other always held them back, the comfort of a great life. And I think, again, we probably at 26, we just were foolish enough to actually take that decision. I don't think so at 30 we would have probably been able to do it, or if we were married or something like that. So I think everything aligned, the stars aligned, and I think, again, like, there's a difference between saying something, planning something, and just going for it. And what Sahil said, right? If he wouldn't have just told me that I've quit my job, it would have been another conversation that we would have.
He's fault.
Yeah, no, well, I gave him credit that because he was able to, he had the conviction to act on an idea and say that that's it, I've quit my job. And that actually forced me to, because otherwise, I personally, as I said, was 4 months away from my exit. I could have probably stayed that, taken that, and then that would have become my, fallback. Like, if, Dineout doesn't work, at least I have my, I have my passport, and I could come back to the UK and get another job. So not having a fallback actually made me realize that this is it, and I need to go all in.
That's amazing.
I guess speaking about your friendship, what is it about each other that, makes you so close, gets you to work together? What's that? Is there the loyalty? What is it about your friendship that makes it so special?
I don't know. I mean, we've been friends for like donkey years, right? Like 35 years, right? And I think it's just that we've been so close with everything. Loyalty is obviously, it's a foregone conclusion, right? That's not something that you don't even think about, right? I think it's beyond that, because you can just trust the other person blindly that whatever's happening, is he's doing the right thing, or whatever it is, whether it's friendship and whether it's business, right? And at the same time, it is it also gives you the opportunity to like blast yourselves out and have a fight, and then again have beer after that. Yeah, right. Because I mean, if it's professional, right, you need to be within your limits, and you're very very proper with your words. You're open, and you can blast. And so if you can have a massive fight, and then the next hour you're having a beer outside. I think we had this big problem in the Dineout office that the team outside would listen to us fighting, and they, something gone wrong, something going wrong, and then we're coming out and saying, let's go for a beer. It's like, it's a good way to sort of function in that way. It can be a double-edged sword, but I think we managed to make it work.
So I think I still remember, right, when I first told my parents that I'm starting something with Sahil, Nikhil and Vivek. And their first reaction was, are you crazy? Business with friends never work. And then every single person gave me some anecdote of where when they tried to do something with their friend or immediate family member and it's not worked out. And I just couldn't understand at that point in time why, because for us, our thought process was completely different. I like, would I rather trust a stranger or would I rather trust someone who I've known for the last 20 years, who I know would have my back if things go wrong, and who I know would be there standing. And I think over a period of time, as Sahil said, right, obviously our friendship evolved, but we also evolved, and we've had some crazy fights, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Because 26 years old trying to run a business together is the recipe for death, disaster and chaos. But the good thing about that was that we could walk away from a fight knowing that it was only about that particular incident or that particular conversation. And we could go back to being friends, and we could go back, as Sahil said, to sharing a beer that night. And the other thing that helped obviously was that because we were, 4 of us were so close, our wives were also really close. So, we knew that, we understood each other. So even if I know that Sahil is acting in an irrational way or someone else is, or even if I'm acting in an irrational way, that's not the way I am. And it's probably that situation rather than me as a person. which is sometimes very difficult to understand when you're working with, strangers or co-founders who've known each other just for a few years rather than, a lifetime of friendship. So I think that definitely enabled us to sort of, weather this period. And over a period of time, obviously, you become comfortable. You start knowing the people's strengths and weaknesses. You start obviously trusting them, obviously, for sure. But the one thing is that as co-founders, what I believed is that, and especially a 13, 14-year journey, right?
Yeah.
You'll have a lot of lows and a lot of highs.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that during my period of lows, these guys were there to sort of, take the slack and have my back. And the same for everyone, right? Which is very difficult to sort of find that in set of co-founders who've not known each other for that long or doing business sort of by yourself. And then that's why after Dineout, there's when it came out, the medical travel, in my mind, it was never even a doubt. Like I knew that whatever I do next will be with, Sahil or my other co-founders. And they are also still today, all of us, we have other businesses that are going on, which they are looking at, right? So we're still, 4 of us are still one unit connected. We're doing the medical travel company together, but then we have other businesses which are there together.
I was going to say about that, really, you kind of came out the Dineout, sold it, and then thought, right, let's start again and start something new. That's still brave, though, I think. Don't you think? Do you think you want to kick back and enjoy the fruits of your labor, or were you ready to go?
Yeah, no, I don't think the personalities that we have
Yeah.
sit back and enjoy at this stage.
Yeah.
Our thought was that maybe we have another shot at another business.
Yeah.
And then maybe 10 years down the line, after we are like maybe 50, 55, that's it. You want to sort of sit back and enjoy and relax.
No, to be honest, I actually thought that this is right and that that's it. We don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And there was a period of 3 to 4 months when literally, we had switched off and we were just chilling. And then I realized after 3 months that I can't be doing this forever. How much time can you? It just felt that we are living without purpose.
You had some more to give,
No,
doesn't
we're
it? Yeah.
living without purpose. And for us, at least, that's why, right? So that while Dineout was a great business and we had great outcomes, we felt that at least I want to build my legacy, right? Like, it's good Dineout, but now it's someone else's baby, right? Yeah. We've given it to someone else. What am I going to be known for 5 years, 10 years down the line? The way, it doesn't matter. So at least from our perspective, we thought that we have another, as Sahil said, another big business built left in us. We want to, work on something meaningful, which can be, which can make people's lives better and also leave a legacy. And that's what now we're hoping to do with the medical travel company.
What is your vision next? Like, what do you see yourself after TMTC? Do you think you'd continue it for the next 20 odd years, or is there anything else?
Yeah, I think with healthcare, right, the one thing, the specific reason that at least why we chose healthcare is because we know that it takes at least 10 to 15 years to build a big, meaningful business in healthcare. And we know that we have another, we're ready to commit 10, 15 years to this because we know that that's what gets the amount of time it's going to take to do and build what we're trying to build. I don't think so, to be honest. We thought what after TMTC, because I know we're committed to this for the next, long-term future, because we genuinely believe that what we are now trying to do has the potential and the power to impact lives, to change lives, and to make people's lives better. And I think that is what now drives us. It is not a quest for money. I think it is a quest for making the world a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way we think about it is that 2010 was the call center outsourcing era for the world, where India played a key role. 10 to 20 was a tech outsourcing era for the world. And the next decade or two will be around healthcare outsourcing, where India will play a key role. And we want to be there right in the center of it while that's happening and sort of see that play out and obviously build a large business around it.
So then I guess, like, it's really important that both of you are actually representing India on a global stage.
Yeah.
How important is it for you to make sure that, you are getting seen, but seen in the right way?
No, I think that's extremely important because I think brand India has not been depicted to the world in the right way. And I think we're now just getting there where not just us, multiple other businesses and brands are trying to make sure that India is seen in the right way across the world, right? Globally, right? And I think last 10 years, there has been a shift from, so let's say before 2014 and after 2014, there's been a definite shift with the overall growth of the country, the overall political leadership, I think there's been a massive change. But I think the next wave of 10 years is where we'll see a big change, where India will be seen very differently by the world versus how it's been seen till now, right? And I think the media plays a big role, the Western media especially.
Yeah.
And I think getting seen there and depicting in India in the right way will be extremely important as founders for us to make sure that that happens.
And I think one more thing, I think there's a major, so the way I think we're sitting at 2025 right now, the last 15 years was about people in India building for India, building world-class products in India, getting millions of users and having the confidence to say to themselves that the next 10 years from now, we're going to build for the world sitting in India. I think that confidence has happened where the first wave of entrepreneurs have now realized that, yes, we can build stuff at scale. Now it is about taking India to the global arena. I think we have some of the best minds in India. And again, there's been a massive amount there is a reverse brain drain happening here where, because what's happened is that when I take my case as well, I left India in 2002. Doctors, engineers, a lot of people who left India in the 90s and early 2000s, they all left for the belief of a better life outside. But I think the last 10, 15 years, everyone has started to realize that actually you can have a great life in India, you can build in India, and you can actually enjoy a lot more in India. And people want to live, be back to their friends, families, and there's a lot of purpose-driven entrepreneurs also coming back, having lived outside, because we want to contribute to the growth of India. And I think this is what is going to drive the next, rise of India to the world, where founders, entrepreneurs like us and others that we're meeting are now, have the confidence to say that we are the best at what we do, and we can now offer this to the world. And we're seeing this with healthcare, space tech, AI. We're seeing this in multiple different sectors. So I think it's an exciting time to be a founder, building in India, but building for the world.
Things like TMTC, I think, will be a good sort of example of that, to show how far India has come and what it has to offer. I think we're seeing that personally. I had a big gap from not coming to India for about 15 years, and the change I've seen. And I couldn't have imagined something like this 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. I just couldn't have imagined it. And when I go back and I tell people about this, like, no way, really? I was like, you couldn't believe it. So I think you guys are definitely...
Yeah, and I think it's about, we've been on this journey with TMTC for the last, let's say, 2 years, right? In the last 2 years, last 6 months specifically in 2025, we've got more than 30 doctors and healthcare professionals from UK to India to show to them what we built, the quality of the hospital, the infrastructure that exists here. And people have just been blown away.
Yes.
At what I think what Sahil said was one of the most important things, right? The media narrative around India has been very negatively skewed. And I think when people come here and when they see what is happening here, when they interact with the doctors, just to give you a small example, right? Where you got an ex-NHS commissioner here, and we took him to meet a very famous orthopedic knee surgeon in Delhi and this was 11 a.m. and he came in his scrubs from the OT, and he told this NHS commissioner that I have done 7 knee transplants till now, and I have another 6 to go before lunchtime. And the guy was just gobsmacked that here you're doing 13 a day, and in the UK, if a surgeon does 13 in a week, that's considered a lot of work, right? So I just think that the scale that we're operating at in India is very different. I think people just need to realize that. People need to understand that. And I think because India is such a large country, for the last 10, 15 years, people have just been focused on solving India's problem without actually showcasing to the world what is being built. Now we are seeing what TMTC is trying to do. We're trying to show the world that the Indian healthcare ecosystem is actually competitive and can compete with the best out there.
See, I think what's important to understand is that there are multiple paths to India. India is like a continent, right? You would have different shades of healthcare in different parts of India and different spheres of the world, right? But I think what we are doing is curating the right set of doctors and clinical excellence, because in India there are 1,000 hospitals, there are 1,000 doctors. Who do you go? You get all kinds of people from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and sort of facilities, right? And what Ankit mentioned, we've got the UK doctors to come here and see those facilities and shortlist the right ones, right? Which are tier one facilities with the right clinical outcomes. In fact, one of our fertility doctors who came to India, she said some of the labs that she's seen here are so good that she's not seen a lab like that in UK for the last 30 years, right?
Yeah, can you
In UK for the last 35 years, she was amazed here in Gurkha to seeing a lab. And she said, I have not seen a lab like this in UK, right? So I think there is quality available in India, but you just need to go to the right place, right? And I think just figuring it out for our customers or patients, right, and curating that is the most important thing, because you can easily go to the wrong guy in the street and be duped as well. But you need to be, that is why TMTC comes in to sort of solve that problem.
Yes.
Right. That's the
I think what Sahil said, right, that I think India with its 1.4 billion people and such a huge country has everything at different levels, right?
Yes.
So what we need to offer, or what businesses need to offer, is to showcase the best of India, right?
Yeah.
And for that, it's possible via a very curated concierge service. If you show the best, and that's essentially what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
at least for healthcare,
Yeah.
to make sure that our our people, our patients, our customers, they experience the best of Indian healthcare, because we know that the best of Indian healthcare can give the best of any global, can compete with the best that is out there. But people are afraid of undertaking this journey themselves, and rightly so. And that's why we want to make sure that we handhold every single patient from the moment they, not just the UK, but even from the moment they arrive and land, right from the aerobridge to aerobridge, everything is handheld for them, and in a protective, in a trusted and a safe environment. And I think that's what essentially is going to change the perception of India, where we get people to experience the best of India that India has to offer.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess finally, what message would you want to give out to young people as well as old who would like to start the entrepreneurial journey? What is it that you could teach them?
I think for me, the one thing is, you're never too early or never too old to start your journey. I think it doesn't matter, and especially in today's day and age with the advent of technology, social media, etc. I think now is the time, right, to start something. So if you think you have an idea, go for it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fail, and then that's it. But at least you'll have learned something and you won't have any regrets.
Yeah, I think just building on what he said, I feel today it's so much more easier to start something. I think people talk of AI as something which will destroy jobs, etc. I look at it differently, right? Today, with the advent of AI, like for us to build a simple website way back in 2011, it took us 6 months working with a developer, app, all of that, and we actually built a website to start off with. Right? We were not tech people, right? Today, you can do that in like a day, right? With so many platforms available, in one day you can be up and running with your business. You've got different companies doing logistics for you, everything that you need, right, to actually run your business from your home, right? So whether it's a small business, whether it's a large business, I think the time to start has gone down massively, right? And that's why it's much easier to experiment, do stuff, and actually build. So I think whoever it is, irrespective of the age, should just take the plunge, like I said earlier, because it's all about execution.
Getting over that fear factor, that's the thing. Take that risk.
Yes.
And today, I don't think so. I think we're in this day and age or environment where I think everyone understands that, if you start something, and even if you fail, that's acceptable now. It's no longer is that time where where people are skeptical about, oh, you've done this and you've not performed well, that means, or this idea didn't take off, that means you were not able to, you're not capable. I think people are over that. People understand that it's it's become acceptable, right? Like let me put it this way. So never a better time than now to start something if you have an idea.
Sorry, go.
No, go.
I was going to ask, what would your legacy? What would you want your legacy, both of you, to be? What would you want your final kind of like? We got may live many, many, many years, but your legacy. What would you?
I think for me personally, I would want to be recognized as someone who left the world a better place than when I came in there. And honestly, that's what I'm now trying. I honestly want to change and transform lives of the medical travel company, because we believe we can make that. We're at a stage today where we can do that.
Yes.
And for me personally, that's my mission for the next 15, 20 years. That people can say that he made a difference.
Easy. So
I honestly, but that's honest. No, like, I don't know. I mean, I just want to do stuff and legacies are created, I think posthumously or whatever. I don't know. Like I've never thought about creating a legacy or leaving something. I just enjoy doing whatever I'm doing and just do what I like. I think automatically it should take care of whatever legacy has to be carried.
Fair
And
enough.
I don't think about that honestly.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
And now, like a couple of quick fire questions. So our channel is mostly based around, inspiring people, but we also do food, travel, and sports. So we know cricket is big in India. So I'm not going to ask you about cricket, but what other sports do you guys like? Are you football fans? And are you Liverpool fans is the most important question.
Yeah, so I think for me, my first introduction to football was in 2002 when I actually moved to the UK. And that was that year was the invincible Arsenal 2002. So that was Henry.
That's my team.
Exactly. That was. So I remember Henry going crazy at that year, and so that I've been an Arsenal supporter since.
Wow, I didn't know this.
Yes.
That's it. Now I did not know this.
Football and Arsenal, and the other thing then I really liked in the UK was so two more sports which I've obviously apart from cricket was tennis, which was really big in the UK, and then F1. So I got my introduction to
Are you like F1?
F1. I've been to multiple races now across the world. Silverton was the first track that I went to. It was unbelievably like what an amazing 3-day sort of a weekend. We had it from practice, qualifying, and race day.
Wow.
And then and tennis I've been to lucky enough to have watched tennis at Wimbledon.
Yeah, wow.
Other places. So
Strawberries and cream.
it's evolved massively since then. But football, Arsenal, man, and hopefully 2025, 26 is going to be Arsenal's.
I've got a season ticket, right? So if you're ever in London,
Oh yeah,
just tell me. It's all yours, man.
yeah.
So what about you?
Yeah, no, so I'm not that big a football fan. I love my cricket for sure.
Yeah, me too.
So cricket is there, but beyond that, I love to play badminton and I love to watch Formula One. So Formula One is one of the biggest things. So I've been following that for donkey years. So Formula One and obviously tennis. So only the Grand Slams.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Who do you admire the most in F1?
Verstappen, I think he had been brilliant. I think over the last few years, I think if I talk about recent times, as a kid, it was obviously Michael Schumacher. But right now it's
I think it's an era, right? So I think I grew up Mika Häkkinen, Damon Hill, that sort of thing. Then obviously Schumacher, then Lewis Hamilton, honestly, and now I think. But now I think it's amazing what the sport has evolved and transitioned into, and with Netflix, Drive to Survive, I think they've just got it so important.
I think they brought
a craze back. Yeah, they brought the craze back. They brought it into our lives again. So I think it's just amazing.
She likes F1.
Yeah, I love F1.
because I think there was this phase when Hamilton was just winning left, right, and center.
It got this
Stopped watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think
What sort of cuisine, other than Indian, is your favorite?
for me it's Asian. So I love, but this is the Indian Asian. Like I know the kind you get in UK versus India is very different.
Yeah.
So the Asian food you get in India and I'm vegetarian. I don't eat non-veg. So the veg sushis, the veg dim sums. When I tell people I love veg sushi, they're like, "What? What's a veg sushi?"
Veg sushi, best, don't I?
So I think Asian would be.
Yeah, for me it's a bit different because I lived in London for so long. Like every year I learned a new cuisine because I was living with friends from different parts of the world. So by the end of it, I now can cook 7 different cuisines. So whether it's Italian, Thai, Mexican, Chinese, and so I love my food, right? Obviously the belly shows. And tastes are evolved, but still, I think for me, nothing can beat a good, I would say, great Sunday roast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I think about UK, like that's something that I definitely want to have, like
Roast potato.
everything steaks are my weakness, and so overall, I think I just enjoy eating food, which again shows. But I personally love Italian a lot, like a good pasta with a nice steak and a nice glass of wine.
Yeah.
We need to come to your house for dinner. You need to make us meals.
Okay, so I love cooking. In fact, like I still cook every other weekend for my daughters. I have 2 lovely daughters. They enjoy my cooking. So I'm,
Amazing.
I love cooking. In fact, I make sure that every time I go to the UK, I get at least a couple of days of good cooking time in an apartment or something.
Amazing. And then finally, best travel destination.
Oh, I think that's
The last choice you had to go, if there was nowhere else to go, and if that's where I want to go, where would it be?
I think it depends on at least personally for me, right? It depends on now whether it's with friends, family, or boys trip. It depends on that, right? So I think with kids, right? I have two daughters now, so with them, I would love to go to somewhere in Europe, like a nice city. Like for example, we're at Disneyland or something.
Yeah.
Right, that's what you can do with friends. I think a nice party place. We go try to do that once a year.
In India, outside of India, Vegas or something like that, or
I think Vegas, to be honest, is very overrated. Very, very overrated.
London.
London is good. I like with friends. I think I still love going to Thailand, and it's not the wrong reason. Like it's a great party place, right?
Yeah.
You get the best of a lot of things in Bangkok. So I love Bangkok. Then we've had some great holidays. With friends. We were in Eastern Europe, like Romania, Bucharest. We had an amazing time. Baku. I think the world is evolving. I think there are a lot more now places
100%.
open to discover than just the US or
Yes.
just you. I love going to the UK still. Like I'm there like 3-4 times a year. So like yeah.
For me, it's Maldives. So I love Maldives, right? Like just you can go chill there, relax. So it's the last place I have to go to where I can just lie down on a beach, have my beer, chill, relax, swim.
With Maldives.
I think that's beautiful. I think with my kids also, with my family, they also love the beach and the pool. So I think Maldives is definitely one place I can go any time of the year.
And it's not too far
But
from
a little far as well. And and there are places which I haven't been to. So those are more important to see.
So what would that be then? Where would you?
One place which I really want to go to and not been to is Mexico. So yes.
Mexico is brilliant. It's a party place I want.
Yeah.
That is fun.
Cancun was
We were there in 2019, and because I went in 2005 when I wasn't married, but then I had to take her, so she loved it. It was brilliant. Can't recommend it.
Actually, even observing. And now I always wanted to do the octopus rest. I've never done that. So that's
They get like double with it.
want to do that sometimes. So,
There's so many things to do though. That's the thing, isn't it?
I love traveling. Overall, I think I just love traveling, and I think there's so much to experience.
Broadens the mind as well, doesn't it? As they always say.
Any final messages from you two about TMTC or anything else?
I think from the perspective of we know what's happening in the UK from a healthcare perspective. I think people have been struggling for a long time. I think we're at a time and age where it's okay to say that to admit that I've been struggling and I need to change something, because we are like no longer is the time where you need to wait 3 to 4 years to get your surgeries done. Options are available out there which are safer, cheaper, cost effective. I think people need to start exploring ways. We're in an era now where if I have another 10 years to live or 15 years, do I want to live 3 to 4 years of suffering? Or do I want to get myself better and have a better quality of life? I think people need to start thinking about quality of life, what they're doing for the next 5-10 years, how are they going to live? And I think just make sure that we live a better life. I think so, options are available out there to the challenges. And I think if you open your mind and just, undertake that journey, have a conversation with someone, you'll realize that, this solution to your problems exists. And from that perspective, obviously when we met you guys as well, the fact that you were able to take that leap and come here and now having experienced what you've experienced, I would like to believe personally that you are an evangelist, right? Because you went through this journey with us. I think we need to just get that message out there.
Yeah, no, I think for me, when I think about what's going on around, be it it's all the talk, right, about businesses around AI, etc. I think we're building the most non-AI business possible, right? I mean, there are some elements, of course, technology which you can use, but I think our thought is that what's been missing in healthcare is the human touch, right? Empathy has been missing, right? Because when you look at hospitals or you look at insurance companies, it is business for them, right? It's about profits, and it's for profits for everyone. It shouldn't be. But I think in that entire scaling up of things, that human touch has gotten lost somewhere I feel, in the healthcare space. And I think we being on the outside, like we're not a part of the hospital, being a third party, we're managing the patient journey to make sure that the patient experience is supreme, right? And it's not just about pure profits. I think that is where, we feel TMTC can bring that change, where we can add that human touch and the patient experience concept to healthcare, which has been missing for a while, right? I mean, if you look at any industry, right, whether it is the restaurant industry or any other industry that you go to, I think the customer experience is most important, right? When you're ordering from Amazon, right? Everything that Jeff Bezos has built on is built on customer experience. Of course, I think in healthcare, no one has built on customer experience. They've just built on giving the functional outcome, which is good, right? I mean, that's the most important thing. But I think there is an opportunity and need now with aging population across the globe that customer experience needs to be elevated. And once we start that, I feel there's going to be a surge in many more such businesses which are looking at patient experience, customer experience in a big way, which has been missing over the last few years, I think.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Thank you
Thank
so
you guys
much,
so
both
much.
of you.
Thank you.
Bye for having us. Thank you for being so open and honest with us as well. I think that's nice. And like I said, if any young person or anybody, not even young or old, can see, then say, look, anything's possible. So I appreciate that, guys.
You guys are both really inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ankit, Sahil, thank you both.
This has been one of those conversations that genuinely stays with you. Following on from our recent conversation with Cecil, what's been so powerful is seeing a shared thread. People choosing courage, clarity, and purpose at pivotal moments.
From building Dineout to shaping the future of healthcare through TMTC, you've shown the success isn't just about exits or valuations, it's about timing, intent, and impact.
For anyone watching who's sitting on an idea, questioning their direction, or wondering whether India is the place to build, we hope this conversation has given you clarity and confidence.
If this episode resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs this inspiration right now.
And as always, keep dreaming big, stay curious, and trust the journey.
See you on the next one.